A trigger warning, this episode contains violence and strong language.
Introducing to you first the challenger, fighting out of the red corner, wearing black trunks with gold trim, hailing from Chicago, Illinois. He weighed in at a ready...
Undefeated middleweight champ, Mike Lee, gloves in the air, struts to the center of the ring at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, backed by his trainer and manager to the roar of the crowd.
Popular University of Notre Dame graduate introducing the undefeated Mike Lee.
Nobody knows it yet, but he's about to fight his last fight.
I remember this weird feeling coming over me, wondering, am I going back to the hotel tonight or am I going to the hospital tonight?
There's a poem in that. I'm Todd Boss. On this podcast, I help strangers discover the poetry in their most intimate stories.
I think it's funny that we ran into each other because on the surface, you'd think that someone who punched other people in the face for a living would not want to do a podcast about poems. But here we are. And I think that there's a lot of athletes.
On this episode, you're going to hear the highlights from 3 interviews I conducted with Mike over the course of 9 months.
I'm actually, ironically, an extremely empathetic, non-confrontational person, even though I've literally fought for a living.
From day one, it didn't take me long to realize Mike is a complicated guy. And boxing?
It's not all one thing. It's never that we're just a bull in the china shop.
It's a complicated sport. In his book, The Sweet Science, A.J. Liebling called boxing cutthroat, and in the same sentence, beautiful, messy, profane, funny, and sad.
There's so much nuance that kind of goes into fighters and how they got there and who they are. And I think that that's what most people kind of don't see. They just see the blood and the brutality.
Mike spotted my pop-up poetry therapy clinic at an Austin farmer's market and immediately expressed his need for a poem to put words to the nuances in his life. Joyce Carol Oates wrote of boxing, its most immediate appeal is that of the spectacle, in itself wordless, lacking a language that requires others to define it, celebrate it, complete it. In this special episode, you'll go with me to the poetic heart of Mike Lee, a fighter who avoids conflict, an athlete whose health has failed him, a son and father trying to understand where his penchant for thrill-seeking will take him from here.
My body was speaking to me and telling me it's done. You're done, because I think after a while, it just didn't kind of align with my soul.
I don't know about you, but I've never stepped foot in a boxing ring. The thought of someone dedicating their lethal training to achieving my unconsciousness tips the scales for me. I'm sorry, the cons outnumber the pros. But my son joined a boxing gym during a time when he had a lot of teenage frustration to vent, and it was useful to him. Boxing is one of those relics from prehistory that has lost traction lately as a spectator sport, but which nevertheless opens unique apertures on human nature. Chances are you don't box either, but maybe you indulge in other risky behaviors with your body or your thoughts or your feelings. Where do you get your thrills? Is there an arena in your own life where you like to step out to the edge of your capability and push yourself beyond?
So I was 8 years old when I first brought to a boxing gym.
And where do you get those instincts from?
And the one person in the world that I wanted the most love from, like any young boy, was his dad.
Talking to Mike, I sometimes get the sense that what he's working out in the ring is something bigger than sport.
So then the harder I worked at sports, the better I got, and the more like love and admiration I got. I never really loved boxing. I more kind of loved competition, and I loved everything it symbolized and it meant, but I didn't love fighting. I was not really a fighter growing up. I wasn't really that kind of kid. I just could fight when I had to.
Mike started fighting in amateurs when he was just 16. At 18, he won the Chicago Golden Gloves and other major tournaments. But the irony is that even as a kid, Mike's heart wasn't really in it.
I remember at a young age, I had some sort of like sadness or depression that just didn't quite make sense. Whether that's chemical, I don't think it came from, one moment when I was abused or something like that. But it was just there. I would notice this like dark cloud sometimes. And sports was a great way for me to get out of that. And then at 21, right after graduating, I got signed by Top Rank and turned pro. I went from being 21 and fresh out of college and not knowing to really thrown in some incredible situations, good and bad.
It was everything Mike had been working towards. The next decade was a blur.
And then I'm doing Super Bowl commercials, and then I'm on TV. And I think that was one of the big benefits, is that I matured a lot. I learned a lot. I grew up super fast in my 20s. I got exposed to a lot early. And obviously the money, like, you're making more money in one night than your friends are making in years.
Mike's dad became his manager.
Our entire relationship was really all around boxing. It wasn't meant to turn out that way, but he stepped in to help on my behalf, which was phenomenal. When it came to money and contracts, there was no one I trusted more. So it was great to have a family member kind of in your corner there. Our relationship was father-son, but also so much more around fighter-manager, and kind of our world revolving around that.
I asked Mike where his mother fits into all this.
She kind of just supported me and always wanted me to do what I wanted to do. And I think that she probably didn't know, because I didn't tell her how much pain I was in.
She came to all your fights? She came to a lot of your fights?
Yeah, I'd say she probably came to almost all of them.
That's a tough, that's one tough lady. Huh? hard to attend a thing like that, I would think.
Yeah, well, give a little backstory. Like, my mom grew up on the south side of Chicago, really tough. My dad grew up on the west side, didn't even graduate high school, got his GED, went straight into the Army. They came from really rough beginnings. I always ate, and I always had food on the table, so I didn't know any different, But my parents came from the, inner city, different life than I did, because as soon as we could, they moved us to the suburbs. And then my dad finally started doing well and started making money. And so I kind of lived like two lives, but there was always that sense of like, could it all go back away, most likely from my mom, that feeling of scarcity.
Toughness runs in the family. For the next 10 years, nothing mattered more to Mike than winning. Or, to put it another way, nothing mattered more than losing.
I was so scared of losing more than getting hurt. I would have gone through anything, and I did. I fought through a completely shattered hand.
Boxing can be lethal. Concussions, broken bones. Boxers die from their injuries. But it wasn't just physical damage Mike was enduring. More and more frequently, boxing was messing with his head.
I would have big fights where I'd be so excited, on top of the world. And then 2 days later, severely depressed, like couldn't leave the bed. And I would call my dad and tell him about it. They put me on Lexapro for a while, and I was on some SSRIs. It just never really moved the needle. It wasn't, until I got another fight date or another contract or another whatever new, scary, stimulating thing that I would feel alive again. I noticed that my life revolved around getting so excited for an event, usually a fight, crashing, adrenaline crashing, being depressed. And so I had a lot of mental ups and downs, and I always struggled with kind of being in the middle.
Everything changed for Mike in 2012. He was 26, 3 years into a promising career, 11 fights under his belt, and not one loss.
I started to get pretty sick. My immune system was shutting down. I was getting headaches. We had to cancel a fight. We were going from doctor to doctor.
Pain and fatigue sent Mike in and out of hospitals, but no one could give him a straight answer. Rheumatologists, a migraine clinic. At one point, he was on 8 different medications.
You feel like you're going crazy, and you feel like, no one's listening to you, because I got so many blood tests and CAT scans and MRIs and of my head and of my body and all, like, and it all came back, and doctors be like, you're a pretty, like, you're young, healthy kid. Like, you're an incredible athlete. Like, and I'm like, I'm in pain. And it becomes this clusterfuck of ambiguity and gray area. And, you know, half the people telling you that you need to go to Peru and do ayahuasca. And then the other side of it telling you need more medication and possibly surgery.
Mike spent nearly 2 years out of the ring in too much pain to fight. His comeback fight in Philadelphia was shown live on NBC Sports. 15,000 people watched in the arena. Mike's opponent? Another undefeated champion.
I remember not wanting to fight the night before. We just got done with weigh-ins. And after weigh-ins, you get 24 hours from weigh-ins to the fight. And you kind of get this time to hang with your team, eat, rehydrate. And it was the first time I was like really kind of nervous about the fight in a way that like wasn't healthy, like scared of getting hurt. Before I got sick, I was never scared of getting hurt. I was more scared of losing. I was more scared of embarrassment. I had I'd rather go out on a stretcher tonight than lose mentality. And I took that ideology into training, into getting ready, into everything. I was like, you better kill me if you're going to beat me. But after I got sick, it just was never the same. And now all of a sudden now I was worried more about getting hurt than winning, which is a completely misleveraged place to be for a boxer. So that fight, ironically enough, I got a 6-round knockout. I broke his jaw. I think I was winning the fight, but it was pretty close. And like 6th round came in, I hit him with a beautiful right hand, twisted his head back, broke his jaw. I heard he went to the hospital later. I won the fight. I remember being in the dressing room and it was like, comeback fight. I'm still undefeated. I just beat another undefeated fighter on national TV by knockout, had my hand wraps on, and just like couldn't care less. Like was so just like emotionally drained that through what I went through the last couple of years, that I wasn't even like happy or excited. And normally those are the best moments. You get a knockout, you jump on the ropes, like the adrenaline high is nuts. You can't sleep all night. And I just remember sitting back in the dressing room and like just not being happy, just not being excited. Like that feeling just left. Nothing was ever the same. It was like pre-getting sick, post-getting sick with my life. Before that, I felt really young, vital, immortal. The excitement of fighting was never the same. I was always pulling myself into it just through pure will.
Have you ever known in your bones that you needed to quit a toxic situation, but couldn't bring yourself to do it?
I was tired of being in pain, and I knew as much as my identity was tied up into this and my heart was in it, and I was getting pressure from other people, including my family, that this would lead to more pain. And while it seems very obvious from here on out, like I was 26, I could have said I'm done. It just wasn't that easy. It was my own decision. It was tough for me to say no to, you know, at that point I was doing Subway commercials. I was literally in hospital beds, and I would turn on TV and I'd see myself on a fucking Subway commercial. It's tough to turn that off, you know? And so it was like this weird, super empty feeling, but also knowing like I'd be an idiot to say no to this opportunity and money.
It's Turkeytopia at Subway.
Turkeytopia? Is that even a word?
You could say he was stuck in Turkeytopia for years, returning to the ring to fight not one opponent, but two, an opposing fighter and an opposing illness.
I was struggling. I was on painkillers. I was, you know, barely getting through training camps. You know, I was getting to a point in my career where I was top 5 in the world. So like these fights now were everything I dreamed of and pushed for. But at the same time, I was not happy. And you know, I was scared to do something different, scared to quit. So just kind of kept pushing through. But these training camps just became so brutal on my body. But ultimately what happened to me is I think I was so tired of pain, and I knew that this path I was choosing would only bring me more pain. And unfortunately, it took me another, 6 years to get off the ride.
And while fighting for a junior world title where he became number 2 in the world,
through pure heart and balls, kind of pushed through 8 more rounds.
Mike finally did.
With a broken rib. And then I got back to the dressing room and basically like collapsed. Like they rushed me to the hospital because I knew it was broken. Something was wrong. And I think we were worried it was going to puncture a lung or something. So The rib was some of the worst pain I've ever experienced. And you can't do much for broken ribs. So they put me on some pretty heavy dose painkillers in the hospital. And then those made me nauseous. So then I was worried I was going to throw up, which would have been way too much pain for a broken rib. So they gave me anti-nausea medication. It was just a shit show of a day and night.
A boxing match might last an hour, but we've spent 2 hours in conversation by now, and my head is spinning. I'm wondering, how am I going to use all this material to write the poem Mike needs most? And this is when our conversation finally pulls up in a limousine, flashbulbs popping, to that last fight at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas.
And so I ended up fighting for a world title, my last fight, and kind of knowing in my head that this was going to be it, not enjoying the process. Multi-city press tour, your face all over MGM Grand, everything you kind of dream of as a little boy, like, and just kind of dead inside, lying that I was excited about the fight, just falling out of love for it. And I remember this weird feeling coming over me, wondering, am I going back to the hotel tonight or am I going to the hospital tonight? I remember it hit me. You're in the dressing room, you're about to walk out and you're scared. You're this scared little boy, you know, and it's primal and it's okay to be scared, but it's like how you push through it. So I had that some level of that fear every single fight, whether it was a small one or a big one. But this was a different type of fear. This was like very worried about my health. I was much more cognizant finally of like, what does the next 60, 70 years look like? Instead of I'm mortal, this ride is never going to end and let's go fast and die fast. I mean, I fought my ass off that fight. I didn't quit. I got knocked down twice, maybe even 3 times. So the ref stopped the fight. I was very upset about it. I wanted to keep going. It's just, I have that in me. I'm not going to quit until you kill me, for better or worse, and mostly worse.
I must admit that line stayed with me for a few days.
I have that in me.
I'm not going to quit until you kill me.
I'm not going to quit until you kill me.
I'm not going to quit until you kill me.
I'm not going to quit until you kill me.
I'm not going to quit until you kill me.
I remember getting back to the dressing room and feeling, I started crying. I was in the dressing room. I started crying. And I told my team, like, I'm sorry I let you guys down. They didn't feel that way, of course, but in the moment I thought they did. But I felt a huge sense of relief. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it's over and I'm done. And I never have to do this anymore.
Not until after he retired from the sport did Mike get the diagnosis that put many, if not all, of his physical ailments in perspective. Lyme disease is caused by a tick bite, and if left untreated, the infection can spread and cause the chronic, irregular, phantom-like symptoms that make it so notoriously hard to identify. For years, and maybe for much of his boxing career, Mike had been fighting an illness he didn't realize he had.
Chronic inflammation, headaches, some anxiety, and depression that comes with it. And granted, I know I deal with, being a boxer post-concussion, so that's part of it too. But a lot of like aches in my joints. The best way I describe it to people is I wake up most mornings and it goes in ebbs and flows. I've had some better years. I've had some tough years. I've had some better days, tough days. I wake up feeling hungover, brutally hungover almost every day. And I don't drink. I eat incredibly healthy. But it feels like I was out drinking all night without the fun part. I just power through it, but I haven't felt healthy in a decade.
My heart goes out to Mike.
It's just a new normal.
Chronic daily pain is no normal I would wish for anyone. And on top of it, he's had to re-normalize to the loss of his career.
I attached my entire self-identity, my worth to who I was as a professional athlete. And then when that's done, you're still like, well, who am I now? I had to kind of like mourn a death, and that was the death of my identity and a career that started when I was 8 years old. So from 8 to 32, it's, who I was and what I felt like I wanted to do. And so it's like almost like a death, so to speak, like how I think about it and speak about it, which brings sadness, to be honest.
He's trying to hold the nuance of it. Some days that's easier than others.
The whole like struggle that I have with just wrapping my head around everything. I try to live in the moment and play. I love this saying, amor fati. It's basically like the Stoics said, like you have to love your fate, right?
By embracing amor fati, you can transform life's inevitable setbacks into opportunities for growth rather than viewing them as burdens. But practice this mindset though he might, Mike can't help looking back and questioning whether the whole career, starting with Dad's innocent encouragement, was really worth it.
It's tough because in one aspect, what's done is done, and the other hand, maybe it does help me heal and make sense to try to come to grips with my decision and if it was worth it, if he thinks it was worth it, or why he kept pushing me or aligning me with a sport that would cause so much, without a doubt, damage. That was life-threatening. I mean, people die in boxing, point blank.
Mike's not as close with his dad as he once was.
And I don't really know why. I don't know. Maybe he wanted me to keep fighting.
You haven't really had a conversation about that?
No, I haven't really. I probably need to and want to. Just, like most things in life, I tend to avoid conflict. So, like anybody else, I wanted to feel like I was enough. And that's what got me into boxing, was feeling like I was enough and getting love from him and other people.
Mike makes a wish now, and something in his voice changes.
I just kind of, looking back now, wish that when I was in a hospital room after a fight with a broken rib or a broken hand or a broken nose till fucking 3 a.m., that someone came in and just told me, Mike, you're enough. Like, you don't have to do this anymore. Looking back now, I didn't know what I needed, but that's what I needed.
In our third and final interview, Mike tells me he's taken up a new sport, big wave surfing.
I need that feeling of like, this might fucking kill me, or this is exciting.
And like ocean waves themselves, I see Mike's high-risk, thrill-seeking pattern repeating.
If I wasn't riding that wave, I was depressed, and there was fucking nothing in between. That's why post-boxing has been tough for me, because as much as it hurt me and there was pain and I was tired of it, it also gave me that feeling of being alive. It's like a need to go fast, a need to be on the highway and just go a little too fast than what you're supposed to go. That's why I love surfing now. It's the only thing I've found that gives me that adrenaline rush, but doesn't absolutely like decimate me.
But surfing can decimate you, and Mike admits he often takes it too far.
I'm like a psychopath. Like, people around me don't understand it unless they've been in it. Like, we were in Hawaii and I charged this wave that I shouldn't have been on. Like, everyone knows Hawaii is the most dangerous waves, right? And I remember my leash broke. I got tumbled over really bad. I covered my head, but kind of like hit some reef with my hand. And I was underwater for a long time. And then all of a sudden I'm up and my board is gone. They got him a good swimmer, but I don't want to say I was close to drowning, but it was like not good, for a while. There was a definite feeling of, oh fuck, I might drown here. Like figure this out, And normal people would stop surfing. I didn't even quit that day. I went in and got my board and like sat on the beach, catch my breath. I was like rattled, and I paddled back out.
One major change to Mike's identity is that he's become a dad.
When he was first born and very young, he looked like my father. He looked like my dad.
Mike's son, Luca, is 2 years old.
He's the best. I mean, I know all parents think their kid is the best, and we're wired that way, but I'm just so grateful he's healthy, he's happy, he's very energetic. He's a typical boy. He's running around. He's smashing things. He loves dinosaurs. He loves trucks. He's a very sweet, sweet kid. He loves music right now. He's got this little guitar that he plays and like sings, and we take him to music class. And that's really cool for me because I always joke, like I want to teach him how to fight. I think that I want to teach him how to box, but I will strongly, strongly discourage any sports early on that could cause concussions, given kind of what I've gone through and what I've seen. And so I love that he loves music.
Yeah, you can't really hit your head with a guitar unless you're one of those hair rockers, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's got some time before that. No, it's like an acoustic guitar. So it's not it's more of a Jack Johnson vibe than like a Metallica vibe.
One of the most important things for Mike is letting Luca know that he's enough, whatever he ends up doing in his life.
I want to expose him to as much of the world, good and bad as I can. I don't want him to live a sheltered life by any means, but also you don't want your kid to suffer, but you know that a little bit of struggle and suffering is, hell, it's what made me who I am today. So I will say through all the ups and downs of my career, I'm so grateful that I still went for it, that I still had the guts to put myself in the ring, like literally and figuratively. And that doesn't have to be in a ring or on a football field. I really want to instill in him what was instilled in me at a young age, which was to go for it, to think outside the box, and to never give up on your dream. And that sounds corny, but I think that life unapologetically will always outbeat the life of conservatism.
How do you imagine kind of giving him a healthy relationship that falls somewhere in between finding your passion and going for it on the one hand, and not becoming an adrenaline junkie like his dad on the other hand?
I don't know, because, while I definitely don't want him to get into like boxing, I also don't want to be the person to stifle. If he loves jumping out of airplanes and skydiving is his passion, at the same time, like, who am I to kind of stop him? So I don't know. I think I'm probably going to struggle with that. And maybe he just doesn't become that kind of person. I don't know whether that's nature or nurture or how that plays out. I guess I do worry about that, his little like adrenaline junkie side and following certain paths of destruction, so to speak, that I followed. But at the same time, I think if I held him back from that significantly, he'd always resent me. So I don't want to do that.
I don't know what kind of poem you would write for Mike, but when I heard him say,
I'm not going to quit until you kill me,
I had to wonder, does he harbor a death wish?
I need that feeling of like, this might fucking kill me, or this is exciting.
Who's to say whether the right poem, persuasive in just the right way, might not save his life? I think that what I want most for him, especially in the child-rearing years ahead, is a mellowing out. I want his relationship with adrenaline to mature before he kills himself. In the weeks it takes me to write Mike's poem for him, that's what I think about the most. I want to write a poem that will reassure him that he's enough, that life's simple pleasures are some of the best, and that his risk-taking days can be safely behind him forever. I'm going to send you the poem now. It's a PDF. And you can open it while I read it to you so that you can... I decided to dedicate the poem to Mike's son, Luca. You ever have a poem written for you before, Mike?
No, maybe maybe in like first grade or something when we had to write poems to one another, maybe maybe on like a little club I had in first grade or something. But no, this is the first for me.
You got it?
Cool.
Okay.
I got it.
It's called In Time, Every Thrill. You see it?
Yeah, I do.
In time, every thrill seeker
Lows so low for highs, sky high. Speed neater, rush crusher, waves always monster. And why? Thrills to meeker.
In time, every thrill seeker, lows so low for highs, sky high, speed neater, rush crusher, waves always monster, and why? Thrills to meeker, milder pursuits, not because he's weaker, but because the roots of wonder deepen as a man grows older, son, and soon he finds his sense of fun refined, in truth, by currents colder, sanctums graver, and minerals richer for rarity and purity than any ring or trophy traded for clarity in his youth.
His sense of fun refined, in truth, by currents colder, sanctums graver, and minerals richer for rarity and purity than any ring or trophy traded for clarity in his youth.
Wow. I think when I saw For Luca, I started tearing up.
You can read and hear this poem again on our website, poeminthat.com.
Yeah, the line that really sticks out to me is he finds his sense of fun refined in truth by currents colder, sanctums graver. And
Is there an unwritten poem in your life? I know there is. Leave me a message at 808-300-0449 and let's find it together.
But richer, more pure moments. So that, and that's one thing I've kind of been struggling with is enjoying the slowing down. And so that part.
There's a Poem in That is written and produced by me, Todd Boss, with support from executive producer Hila Plitman, editing by Claire Wiley, post-production by Ben O'Brien, and music by Nir Yaniv and Ash Whitaker. And the reason I decided to dedicate this to Luca is Tap It is independently self-produced, but listeners like you are stepping up to support it. Make a tax-deductible donation at poeminthat.com or find me, Todd Boss, on Patreon, where I share poetry, audio, video, and extras from the show in a way that maybe your dad never did for you.
Yeah, that's really interesting too. Huh. When you say at the end, traded for clarity in his...
Big thanks to recent contributors Sherry Henriksen, Dan and Rochelle Krause, Deanna Sarah, and Susan Schaefer. You help us make the world more poetic, one new friend at a time.
Clarity. I'm foreseeing a lot more clarity for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. I think you're right.
I'm Todd Boss, reminding you that there's a poem in everything, if you're paying attention.
So now I get to try to find and replace things that don't risk my life.